In most cases, felons are prohibited from owning firearms, including muzzleloaders, under federal law. However, this is not a simple yes or no question, as state laws and specific circumstances can impact a felon's ability to own a muzzleloader. To fully understand the nuances and complexities of this topic, it's essential to watch the full video. Imagine a man named Richard who grew up in a small rural town where hunting was not just a hobby, but a way of life. From a young age, Richard's father had taught him the importance of respecting nature and the value of self-reliance. Together, they would spend countless hours in the woods, tracking deer and honing their skills with a muzzleloader. For Richard, these experiences were more than just hunting trips. They were a connection to his family heritage and a source of pride and identity. However, as Richard grew older, he found himself struggling with addiction and making poor choices. One night, in a moment of desperation, Richard committed a felony offense. He was caught, convicted, and sentenced to prison. As he sat in his cell, Richard had plenty of time to reflect on his actions and the consequences they had brought upon his life. After serving his sentence, Richard was determined to turn his life around. He enrolled in a rehabilitation program, found a steady job, and worked hard to rebuild his relationships with his family and community. Slowly but surely, Richard began to piece his life back together. But there was still one piece missing: the connection to hunting and the outdoors that had been such an integral part of his identity. Richard longed to once again experience the peace and solitude of the woods, the thrill of the hunt, and the sense of accomplishment that came with providing for his family. Unsure of his legal rights, Richard began to research whether he could still own a muzzleloader as a felon. He soon discovered that the answer was not straightforward, with federal and state laws often providing different guidelines. Under federal law, a muzzleloader is considered a firearm. The Gun Control Act of 1968 defines a firearm as any weapon, including a starter gun, which will or is designed to, or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive. This broad definition encompasses muzzleloaders, which use black powder or a similar propellant to fire a projectile. The consequences of a felony conviction are far-reaching, and one of the most significant is the loss of the right to own or possess firearms. The Federal Firearms Act of 1938 and the Gun Control Act of 1968 prohibit individuals convicted of a felony from owning, possessing, or transporting firearms. This prohibition applies to all firearms, including muzzleloaders, regardless of the type or age of the firearm. However, as Richard continued his research, he discovered that some states have laws that differ from the federal regulations. In certain states, there may be provisions that allow felons to own muzzleloaders under specific conditions. For example, a state might distinguish between modern firearms and antique firearms, with muzzleloaders falling into the latter category. In such cases, a felon might be permitted to own a muzzleloader if it meets the state's definition of an antique firearm. Determined to find a legal way to pursue his passion, Richard delved deeper into the specific laws and regulations of his state. He reached out to local hunting associations, spoke with attorneys who specialized in firearm laws, and even contacted his state's Department of Natural Resources for guidance. Through his research, Richard learned that his state had no specific provisions allowing felons to own muzzleloaders. However, he did discover that there were certain circumstances under which his right to own firearms, including muzzleloaders, could potentially be restored. One such circumstance was the possibility of having his felony conviction pardoned or expunged. A pardon, granted by the executive branch of government, is an act of forgiveness that can restore certain rights, including firearm ownership. Expungement, on the other hand, is a process that removes the conviction from an individual's criminal record. If Richard could successfully obtain a pardon or expungement, his right to own firearms, including muzzleloaders, might be restored. Another avenue Richard explored was the restoration of his civil rights. Some states automatically restore civil rights, including firearm rights, after a certain period following the completion of a felon sentence. However, Richard discovered that the process and requirements for civil rights restoration varied widely by state, and his state did not offer this option. Richard also learned about the possibility of petitioning for relief from firearm disability through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF. This process involves applying to the ATF for the restoration of firearm rights, which requires a thorough review of the applicant's background, including the nature of the felony offense, criminal history, and evidence of rehabilitation. While this path offered a glimmer of hope, Richard recognized that the process could be lengthy and complex, with no guarantee of success. Despite the obstacles, Richard refused to give up on his dream of hunting with a muzzleloader once again. He began to explore alternative ways to engage with his passion while staying within the bounds of the law. One option Richard discovered was the use of black powder substitutes and non-firearm alternatives that could provide a similar experience to muzzleloader hunting. Air rifles, which use compressed air to fire a projectile, emerged as a promising choice. While not identical to a muzzleloader, air rifles still required skill, patience, and a deep understanding of the principles of marksmanship. Richard found that practicing with an air rifle helped to fill the void left by his inability to own a muzzleloader. Another path Richard pursued was becoming involved in hunting education and mentorship programs. By sharing his knowledge and experience with younger generations of hunters, Richard found a sense of purpose and connection to the hunting community. He volunteered with local youth hunting organizations, teaching proper safety techniques, ethical hunting practices, and the values of conservation and stewardship. Through these experiences, Richard came to realize that the essence of hunting was about more than just the tool in his hands. It was about the connection to nature, the camaraderie with fellow hunters, and the opportunity to provide for his family and community. By focusing on these core values, Richard was able to find fulfillment and meaning in his passion, even without the ability to own a muzzleloader. Richard's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of adaptability in the face of adversity. It serves as a reminder that while the consequences of a felony conviction can be severe and far-reaching, there are still ways to find purpose, connection, and joy in the face of legal restrictions. For those in situations similar to Richard's, it's essential to approach the issue of muzzleloader ownership with caution and diligence, consulting with legal experts, staying informed about relevant laws and regulations, and considering alternative ways to engage with hunting and recreational activities can help felons navigate the complex landscape of firearm ownership restrictions. Moreover, Richard's experience highlights the importance of community support and resources for individuals with felony convictions. Organizations such as the National Rifle Association, NRA, and the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers, NASGW, offer information and resources for felons seeking to understand their rights and options regarding firearm ownership. Local hunting clubs, conservation groups, and community organizations can also provide valuable support and guidance for those looking to stay connected to the hunting tradition. Ultimately, while the path to muzzleloader ownership may be difficult or even impossible for some felons, the spirit of hunting and the connection to nature and community can endure. By focusing on the broader values and experiences that hunting provides, felons like Richard can continue to find meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in the great outdoors. As we come to the end of this video, we hope that Richard's story has provided valuable insights and inspiration for those navigating the complex issue of felon muzzleloader ownership. Remember, every situation is unique, and it's essential to seek professional legal advice and stay informed about the laws and regulations in your area. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found this information helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep pursuing your passion for the great outdoors.